Hello, welcome to another episode of Drinking with Comics. I'm Sean, and today, I was in Chicago over the weekend, and I hit Binny's Beverage Depot and found a bunch of Goose Island that I had not heard of before. Apparently, we were speaking to one of the employees there, and they had just got their Christmas or holiday drop earlier that week, so I lucked out. So you'll be seeing those over the next couple episodes. So the first one, this is Bull and Goose. This is West Side Ale. It's 4.8% alcohol. And I had one of these last night. It was not what I expected at all. It is very akin to that Wiseacre Tiny Bomb lager. I poured one of those for my mom, and I poured one of these for me, and they were almost identical. So this is, it's like a golden ale, maybe. The nose almost reminds me of Hogarden or Hogarden, however you say that. It's a very flat taste at the front of the tongue, and then it kind of expands as it works its way back. It's good. It's a definite session drink, especially at 4.8% alcohol. Not my favorite Goose Island, but it's good. It's definitely drinkable. So, all right, comics. Big one. I was kind of on the fence on this one today, and I'm super happy that I bought it. So this is The Deviant. This is the first of 3 issues, A Christmas Story by James Tynion, Joshua Hickson, and Hassan Asmani Allahu. I'm sure I butchered that last name, but so this is going to be, if you read Tynion's The Closet, this looks like it's similar. It's 3 issues. It's this, the first issue at least, was thicker. It was $5.99. Well worth it. Read it super fast. Super fucked up Christmas tale. Reminds me of like Silent Night, Bloody Night, but better, way better. Bounces between Chicago, December 2023, and Milwaukee, December 1973, where a bunch of kids were murdered by a mall Santa, but not really. So he went to jail for it, but you start to learn that like he didn't actually do it, and there's whatever it is that's responsible. I don't know what the fuck it is, but it is creepy as fuck. So I loved this. I was especially excited because Joshua Hickson on art. So he did a couple years ago, I think in 2019, 2020, he did a book. He drew a book called The Plot that Vault Comics did. I can't remember the writers right now. It was 2 writers. Really cool book. I loved it. I loved the art so much. It was like ancestral horror. So his art in this is fantastic, and Tynion always delivers. So The Deviant, I'm going to recommend it for sure. Like, it's pretty great. And I'm not a big Christmas horror guy. Moving along on today's poll, Ghost Rider 20. This is further into the Talia Warroad story about the growing up in the cult of Mephisto. And on my blog at SeanCBaker.com, I keep saying for this, because I always break down my polls for New Comic Book Day on Wednesdays. I'm hoping this cult of Mephisto thing is going to invoke, like, I have such a thing for Mike Baron and Klaus Jansson's early Punisher, like the original series in the late 80s, 87, 88, issues 4 and 5 introduced this character, the Rev, that later came back. But they were doing, Mike Baron was doing his riff on the Jonestown Massacre. It was very similar. But I love that storyline so much, and it deals with a cult, and I'm hoping something like that's going to happen, but I think I'm going to be let down. I've talked before about this book. It's like every couple issues, it keeps me by having these super old school Books of Blood, Clive Barker undertones, and then it kind of starts to lose me again, and it's just a cycle. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I have expectations that are unrealistic with this Mike Baron Punisher thing, but I don't know. So the end of this issue says to be concluded, and it seems like, I don't know if Benjamin Piercy's leaving. I don't think he is. I don't know. There's some kind of status quo change coming, I think. So we'll see. I may stop after 21. Not great, not terrible. Jean Grey #4. So this is the last issue of the Louise Simonson, Bernard Chang, Jean Grey miniseries. This, I've enjoyed this series. It makes no fucking sense. And, you know, the whole like tag or log line for this series and the ads before it started coming out was like the key to the X-Men's futures and Jean Grey's past. So you figured you'd get to the end of this and it would be like, oh, this, okay, here's where we're going. No, I mean, my big theory, I think even more now it has been, is that Jean's going to end up being the Phoenix again. I don't know. Last I checked, the Phoenix was like 9 different people or some shit in the Marvel Universe. I have not paid attention to that. I don't know what happened in Jason Aaron's Avengers. I didn't read it, but I know at some point there was a bunch of Phoenix people. So, I mean, it's just a better plot device if it's not oversaturated, and they've kind of gone crazy with that. Uncanny Avengers #4. One more issue to this, and then, you know, we get our new big rise of the fall of the whatever the new X thing is called. I've talked about it on here before. I'm forgetting with all the rise fall shit. House of X, rise of the powers of X, fall of the House of X. I think that's right. So one more issue. This definitively tells you who Captain Krakoa is. Not gonna say anything else. It was a good issue. It wasn't fantastic, but I dug it. And then that was really it for this week. I passed up the Skybound G.I. Joe #301 or whatever it is. You know, famously, Larry Hama wrote G.I. Joe for Marvel. Then he wrote another, I don't know how many issues in the same continuity for IDW. That just ended, and now he's picking up the same continuity for Skybound. So that came out. I didn't read any of the IDW stuff. I love Hama's G.I. Joe. I stopped well before he stopped writing it for Marvel, and I have a few of those later issues, and I don't love them. It's not Larry Hama's fault. I mean, it was basically a toy marketing device, and he was under pressure to include and do certain things he maybe didn't want to do. Like, I remember an interview where he said he drew the fucking line at Cobra La. Thank God. I didn't pick that up, and along on the shelf next to that, I saw a facsimile for the original G.I. Joe #1. Now, I have that from when it came out. It's in terrible shape, but I do have it. And then, you know, I got my car, I was driving home, and I was like, oh man, I probably should have got those. Just even, I don't think I'm going to read the Hama run because I've missed so much, and you know, it's better left where it is in my head. I will be reading the Skybound stuff at least to start. But so I call my friend Mike Shin at Amazing Fantasy in Chicago, and because I've been going back and forth so much, I was just like, do me a favor, grab 301 and that facsimile, and throw them in my box, and I'll pick those up next time I'm in town. So I'm kind of excited to read those. And just an addendum to last week, I want to talk about a couple things I did pick up in Chicago. So this Red Murder, this is the Stuff of Nightmares. This is that R.L. Stine book. So R.L. Stine came into being writing children's, young adult, independent reader horror stuff well after I was of that age. So I have no experience with Goosebumps or any of that shit. Not interested. I mean, it's cool gateway horror, just not interested. But the first arc of this, it's an anthology, so each arc is different, or each season, whatever they're calling it, I really dug. So I was excited for this, and I held off getting it because my shop, Rick's Comic City, did not get the Barbarian homage cover, and Barbarian being one of my favorite movies of the last 10 years, I had to have this. So I asked Mike Shin once again to pull that and put it in my box, and so I picked that up this weekend. This is a standalone. There's another one coming, I guess, in December that's horror or Christmas horror related, but this was fantastic. It's a horror story at a horror convention, and I really like this a lot. So I hope this series continues. Way better results than the Creep Show. Just not feeling the Creep Show. And there's a couple things else that I grabbed. So I finally picked up 3 and 4 of Garth Ennis and Jason Burrows' The Ribbon Queen. This fucking book is insane. I love it so very much. I can't wait to sit down when it's all done and read it in one fell swoop. If you liked A Walk Through Hell, you'll like this. It's very good. Ennis does horror well. I was not a big fan of Cross. It just seemed like so over the top. I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit, but these are really good. And then I haven't read them yet, but I finally picked up all of the issues to date of the Enfield Gang Massacre, which is the Chris Kahn and Jacob Phillips spin-off, prequel, whatever to That Texas Blood. I am a big That Texas Blood fan, so I've been dying to get this, and it's been very underprinted, so it's been hard to find. And then just a couple like impulse. So there was a Micronauts facsimile of #1, and this, and then I got a story pack for $3 of this Dreadstar and Company 1 through 6. So this is, it's not even necessarily going to be easy to read. I've already read the Micronauts, and it's not great. But the thing about these, this is what I call, I have this genre that I call, or subgenre, I call it hobby store sci-fi. And in the 80s, like, there was so much sci-fi, and you know, because Star Wars was popular, right? So comics and role-playing games and stuff, they did a lot of this sci-fi that was trying to capture the, you know, the audience of Star Wars. But it's so funny, sci-fi then had a much more analog projection for the future because digital wasn't really a thing yet. So all of these futuristic sci-fi stories, the art and the mechanics of the science they use is always very analog. And I feel like the best example of this in modern times is the Daniel Warren Johnson Beta Ray Bill series from 2 years ago, because his art just lives and breathes analog, giant vacuum tubes, giant screens, giant processors, all kind of in the background, but still very much the environment that the characters are in. So, you know, Micronauts, Kelly Jones drew on this for a long time. And I've become a big Bill Mantlo fan. He did like some the Crossroads era Hulk stuff and other stuff I'm blanking on, but he was big on a contributor to this subgenre that I've posthumously named. And so I don't know, it was very cool to read. I mean, you know, look, very Darth Vader overtones right there on that villain. And then Dreadstar and Company, I always remember seeing this on the shelf when I was a kid. Same kind of feel. I don't know shit about it. So I just thought, you know, I have a couple other issues I bought from a back issue bin at the Comic Bug in Manhattan Beach a couple years ago. And I think I read some of them, not super memorable, but I just love to get my hands on this stuff and look at it and kind of re-experience that, I don't know, more innocent, naive sci-fi. So yeah, hobby store sci-fi. But yeah, so that's Drinking with Comics this week. Actually, we'll probably be back with a special tomorrow. But until then. Hi, I'm Sean. Join me and my friends every week for the Horror Vision, where we talk about horror movies.